Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, breadwinners, thread spinners, all those in between, you're now watching the T&F Podcast with your favorite bipolar rock and roller, Mr. J. Curtis Strickland. Do me a favor, click on that like button, click on the subscribe button, click on that little bell for notifications, like this video, comment on this video, share this video, do all that good stuff. Up in the pipeline, we're working on a show with John Joseph, still working on the date for that. Like we said, this is a makeup show because internet went down in my neighborhood one day, so we didn't get to do the show. But we got Rob from Crime Wave Records also coming up. He's going to be on a date that we're tentatively working out right now. All right, so joining me today, really big fan of this guy's musical projects. He's been in the likes of Harvest and the Hope Conspiracy. Currently, he is living down in Brazil, and he is archiving a lot of hardcore films onto his YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Zimmerman, what's going on, dude?
How's it going? Nice to be
It's
here.
going, man. So Brazil? What brought you down to Brazil?
Brazilian wife, like most people here in Brazil. most Americans that I've come into contact down here end up marrying a Brazilian and moving down. So that's my case as well.
That sounds like something I'm gonna plan on doing, man. Because I don't know, it's like that old American Woman song. Just get away from me. I can't deal with you anymore.
It's a pretty good plan. I can't complain. I grew up in Minnesota, and I don't know. Sometimes I miss the seasons, but it's nice having warm weather every day. So can't
Oh,
complain.
dude, I bet. I mean, I tell you what, like having lived in the coldest of colds, like, and being in the nicest of sun, you don't always miss it, but sometimes you do. Sometimes you're like, let's go to get a little bit of that, go back home, and then you're just like,
Yeah,
this
I
sucks.
miss
This is really
snowboarding.
cold
I
still.
haven't gone snowboarding in a long time, so
Oh,
I
are you a
miss it.
snowboarder?
Well, I mean, a little bit. I used to when I was, when I was a teenager. I went a bunch. I growing up in the hardcore scene, most of my friends were skateboarders, and I never really did very well with skateboarding, but with snowboarding, it just fit well, and especially since growing up in Minnesota, you have plenty of time with the snow, and I grew out in a small town out in the countryside, and so I could just grab my board and walk across the my neighbor's pasture, and we had this giant ravine that I'd go snowboarding. So,
Oh,
so
dude,
uh,
that's
you
dope.
know, I was never the best snowboarder in Harvest because Eric, the first guitarist, the original guitarist, he was like a semi-professional snowboarder back before
Oh,
he
wow.
snapped his femur in half. But but I always enjoyed it, and always you know always had fun with it, and since I've
Now,
been away from the snow so long, I haven't really had a chance to do it. And I
yeah,
haven't
no, I
really
I
had a
I
choice,
understand.
so.
Now, it's funny that you're mentioning snowboarding and skateboarding. It was the opposite for me. I'm not a very good skateboarder, but thinking that it would be like skateboarding, I hopped on a snowboard in Japan, and I don't know if you know anything about Japan, but not all their ski slopes, but a lot of them have artificial snow, like man-made snow. So me being this inexperienced snowboarder, here I am falling down this mountain on this snow that felt like concrete, and I was like, "Fuck this!" And I just took it and got a pair of skis. I was like, "I'm done with this shit." So I don't know how you do it, man. It's like it doesn't have the same like mechanics to me.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, I guess I grew up not well, skiing a little bit, cross country skiing. My family always had cross country skis, which is
Oh, you're
a
brave.
whole other thing, but somewhat similar. Yeah, I think I've only gone downhill skiing like once or twice, and then got a snowboard, and for a number of years was enjoyed that whenever we had snow. But yeah, after I moved out to Boston, I think I went maybe one time out there, and after that, just kind of stopped doing it. So
Yeah.
I'd like to get back into it.
Hopefully you get to do it again one of these days. Now let's talk about you a little bit as far as like your backstory. as far as music's concerned? Did you grow up in a family that played music? How did you get exposed to it? Did you have like friends and family? How did that work?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. My family is a bit musical. My mother played guitar, and her dad played guitar as well. I actually have an old guitar of his that he bought in like the 1940s or something. Uh, but it's kind of funny because my parents, especially my mother, is super religious, and so we grew up going to church every Sunday, and we'd sing at church and stuff. So there was music with that, but uh, we never really. It's kind of funny because my dad too. I think once my dad met my mom, he just kind of, uh, just I don't know, just focused on her. But he actually, many years ago when I don't know if I was still a teenager, but he gave me like his old record collection. And my dad, before, when he was young, he actually had like awesome taste in music, and he had like all this old Motown stuff, and had a pretty cool collection of 45s. So and his dad was, or his parents were, kind of like rock and roll kind of greasers. My grandma, she was a huge Elvis Presley fan. So like, I grew up kind of, uh, with, her loving Elvis and all that. But the funny thing is, like, with me, music, I don't know. I mean, I was never really connected too much with the music that my parents liked, but the fact that my mom played guitar, she had an acoustic guitar, and I remember when I was like 13 or so, I saw uh, actually a Kiss video. I was a big fan of Kiss for a while, and I saw a Kiss video of them playing acoustics. And I was like, hey, my mom has a guitar like that, and went to her closet and grabbed the guitar. And then it was like every day after that, I was just playing guitar. And so that's kind of what got me started, was the fact that my mom played guitar initially. And even though she never, I didn't really grow up with her playing, or even with my grandfather. I don't, didn't really see him playing. It was like it was around, but not not super present.
Sure.
So
Did you end up taking lessons as a result of being exposed to that through your parents?
I did. I took lessons. I just apologize quick. My throat is terrible right now. I'm on day 3 of being sick, so I'm trying to hold it together here.
I'm sorry.
I've been sneezing and coughing and all this stuff, but uh, let's go back to the question here. I got
Yeah,
just
playing lessons, guitar.
Oh, yeah, lessons. So yeah, I took lessons. I was really focused. I've often joked around that I think I played better after 1 year than I did after than I do nowadays. Because like the first year I was crazy focused. I was just practicing every night, and that's all I did. And then I took lessons. So like every Saturday morning, I would go to the music store in the town where I grew up, and down in the basement there was a guy that gave guitar lessons, which is actually really cool guy, and kind of funny, some of the I don't know, paths crossing in the way things work out. But so this guitar teacher, his name's Brad Schmidt, and we took I took lessons with him for a number of years, and I'm not actually sure how long, but I think it was probably for like a couple of years or so. And I was a metal kid at the time. I was into rock and roll, and then got into metal and stuff. And Brad, he actually he was an old metalhead too. He had a metal band back in the 80s and stuff, and he actually grew up with Dave Ellefson from Megadeth. So like he would tell me, all these old stories of them and stuff. which was kind of funny because there was just what was it, a month or two ago, there was a music festival down here in Sao Paulo called Summer Breeze, and Ellefson was here playing bass for Overkill, and I ran into him after the show and stuff, and chatted a little bit, and I was like, fellow Minnesotan here, because we're all three of us are from there and stuff, and so we were chatting a little bit and stuff. But yeah, it was cool. I had lessons for a few years and was really focused, and I was kind of a crazy kid. I was 13 when I started playing, and I even had like the little finger exercise tool that I would bring to school. So all day long I'd be like stretching my fingers out and doing exercises, trying to strengthen my fingers and reduce the webbing in between my fingers. Like it's
Nice.
crazy, focused on it, but I think it was great. It was I mean, it's kind of what set me on my path and brought me to where I am. So
Sure, sure, definitely. And I noticed that a common denominator between a lot of folks that end up coming on the show is uh Kiss. Everybody I know that like, kind of is a few years ahead of my time. Like they're like, "Oh man, Kiss. I was so into Kiss," and was that one of the first did you ever get to see them live? And if not, like what's some of the shows that you remember seeing early on, like not hardcore or punk rock, but like as far as like just mainstream rock and metal and stuff. What do you remember?
yeah, that's an interesting one, because Kiss. It's funny. I had a handful of friends. I grew up in a really small school and stuff, and uh, one of my initial best friends, he loved AC/DC, and it like at that point in time, it was like, I don't know, for some reason there was like a battle. So he loved AC/DC and I loved Kiss and stuff, and I don't know. I went through a phase where I was really into Kiss. I think a lot of it is also kind of the timing and where kind of how we grew up, and how back nowadays with the internet and everything, you can have access to so many things. But back, if you're growing up as a kid in the 80s, it's like up until we had Headbangers Ball on MTV, it was kind of like Saturday Night Live, their musical guests. That was you had like these few things where you would get culture from. Um, but I don't know. For some reason, for a while there, I was big into Kiss, and then I actually didn't see them when I was a fan of them. I don't know. I that makes it sound like I don't like them anymore,
When you
but
first discovered them.
yeah.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah, I get it.
but like I don't know, Kiss is a weird band because on one hand they're kind of like that absolute opposite of a punk band because they're like a brand.
Hmm.
I mean, they just have a whole nother approach to things. But I don't know, when I was a kid, and I think maybe also it could be that I grew up for the first, up until ninth grade, I went to a small Christian school. So it was like, we had 20 kids in my class basically. And it was this small school. And I even remember like having what was it? We would have like a get together in the gym, and they would talk about, music and stuff. I remember talking about, knights in Satan's service and all this stuff. And like, Kiss was seen as the devil. And, it cracks me up thinking about it. But I don't know. I actually didn't see them, back around that time. I met them. I met them at a store. They did like a autograph signing at uh, what was the name of the store? At some music store at the Mall of America in Bloomington, close by Minneapolis there. And so, some friends of mine and we went up there and saw them. I think that was like 93 or something like that. But I think around that time, I was already getting, well, yeah, at that time I was already getting into, heavier music, different music, even punk, punk and hardcore. And 92, 93. Uh, so yeah, I hadn't seen Kiss up until like last year when they were, down here in Brazil. They played in Sao Paulo, and it was supposedly supposed to be their last time playing down here and stuff. And so there's a friend of mine down here that the two of us went to that show, and it was a good time. Had fun. So, but but yeah, speaking of shows, I let's see here. The first shows that I went to, I don't know. I mean, I have a really funny actual first show. Like the first actual show that I remember going to was, I think it's called Riverfest, which is this music festival in St. Paul that would happen. Maybe I got the name wrong, but it's right down along the river in St. Paul. And I think it was 1987, where there's all sorts of people, like Whitney Houston, all this stuff. But the day that my family and I went there, the headliner was Bruce Willis when he was pursuing a music career. So like one of the first concert I remember going to was when I was like 10 years old, going and seeing Bruce Willis sing Under the Boardwalk. So kind of
he was doing it way back then, huh? I thought that
yeah.
was kind of something he did like later on.
Mm-mm.
How
No,
was
it
how
was
was that? I'm always curious because I know Russell Crowe had a thing for a while, and then like Kevin Bacon and stuff like that. What was Bruce Willis like?
Keanu Reeves. He was good from what I remember. I mean, he's I think he's got the charisma. The main thing I remember is he had some crazy baseball hat, red baseball hat with this crazy long bill on it. So it was kind of like, it was almost like watching like I don't know, like it's like a prop comic or something. But it was fun. So that was like the first show I remember going to. But the first show that like I actually chose to go to, I think the first one I actually went to, which is a funny mix of hardcore and metal and stuff, because I was, I was, like I said, a metalhead until I, like fully got sucked into hardcore. And for a while there, I was, only focused on, punk and hardcore and stuff. But the first, concert that I went to was in 93, the summer of 93, which was Anthrax, White Zombie, and Quicksand, which
Wow.
is a crazy mix up or a crazy match of bands. Anthrax, I absolutely love, always loved. Same thing we were talking about, culture and TV, and back in those days, they had the episode on Married with Children. I don't know if you've seen that, where like
I don't think I've seen that one. No.
it's pretty hilarious. So, but yeah, basically they get invited to the house, or well, I think they go there when like the parents are gone and throw a party and stuff and smash up the place.
Have you ever seen Ghosts of Mars, John Carpenter?
No, I don't think
They
so.
they do the soundtrack for that. Anthrax does.
Oh wow, that's
Terrible
awesome.
movie. Terrible movie. Kind of, and truthfully, kind of a lackluster Anthrax sound, but
Yeah,
it's just interesting because Carpenter typically always, did his own soundtracks, and then like, he wanted to
yeah,
add like a different flair to it and put Anthrax in it. So anyway,
that's
Anthrax, White Zombie, and Quicksand. Wow.
yeah. And it's funny because White Zombie had, and I'm not sure exactly of the timing, but I believe White Zombie had basically just started kind of blowing up. Like they had their first hit with Thunderkiss 65 or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So they were kind of, just starting to get attention, just starting to blow up. And Quicksand, really seems like an odd match, but they've actually had history. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, New York hardcore and stuff with, Anthrax, and I think they played shows with White Zombie and stuff. And yeah, and it was I remember getting there kind of early, and they actually were handing out these little kind of like promo CDs of Quicksand that had, a few songs of theirs off their first full length, plus Dying Alone, a cover by the Smiths. Is it Dying
Oh yeah.
Alone? I think.
I
Um,
remember Disembodied did that cover too,
yeah, yeah.
but they did the cover of the Quicksand version.
Yeah, I think I've done a similar sort of thing, that the first song that I ever played in a band, in any band, was Anarchy in the UK, but it's not because I was like grew up a punk. It was because the bass player loved Motley Crue and they covered
Oh.
Anarchy in the UK. So it's like my life has a whole bunch of these, funny tie-ins to um, to hardcore and punk and stuff. And but yeah, it's just one of those weird things.
That's wild, man. And so how did Harvest get started? Did you have any like proto bands before Harvest, like anything that came before it, or was Harvest your first official group?
Yeah, that's I had bands before that. I started playing, let's see here. I started playing guitar in 1990. I started, my first band with friends like 91, the year after that. In the beginning, like most people, we start off with cover songs and stuff. But even I remember somewhat early on, I started writing my own riffs and stuff, which is kind of funny. I was just looking through just last week here. Uh, I have this old folder, kind of like a journal of stuff that I typed up. I don't, way back when I, first started playing guitar and stuff. And like I would, where I have kind of everything, I would talk about how long I practice, talk about, if I bought guitar strings and how much they were and how many guitar picks I got. And, I would just like write down everything. And in there, it's, there's an entry talking about, I wrote my first 3 riffs today and stuff, which was within the first year. So kind of from early on, I was doing my own stuff. But yeah, like I had, there was a band before Harvest of mine, which was my kind of high school metal band called Threshold, which
Okay.
we actually played a show with some of the guys, well, with a bunch of the guys from Harvest, I guess with everyone from Harvest. So yeah, it was in '94. My band Threshold, and then Dave, the singer of Harvest, he was in a band called Rain. And the drummer of Rain was Justin Kane, the drummer of Disembodied, who went on to play in Disembodied and stuff. And so yeah, Dave and Justin were kind of from around my hometown, give or take a city, kind of in this general area where I grew up. And so yeah, so we did this show in April of '94 where it was, Dave's old band Rain, Justin was in Rain, and then Crawl Space, which was, a bunch of other people from Disembodied, Joel and Tara and Aaron, the singer. There was this band Bearing from Wisconsin, which was Aaron and Adam Parks, the original drummer and bassist of Harvest. So it was like there were all these, bands that if you look, 2-3 years later, it's all the same people at the shows, all the same people in bands, but all mixed around, So I had that. I had that band, but it was like, metal band, and we basically just did that one show, and then not too long after that, well, I'd say later that year or so, that band broke up. And then in '95, I did another hardcore band that we actually did a show with Disembodied, which was kind of funny. We did like this back to school jam at the junior high of our high school. So and I can't remember the name of that band. I think I have a flyer or something around somewhere. It was with a
Played it
bunch
in
of
junior
kids.
high school. What was that like?
It was, a little weird playing in a gymnasium. I guess I mean, I've played in other gymnasiums too, so I guess it's.
I had a band that played a high school prom one time,
Oh
so
yeah,
that's why I was wondering. You want to talk about awkward and just not fun, not fun.
yeah, prom. Yeah, that'd be a tough one, I would think.
We just kept asking the guy that put on the show. We were like, "Yo, like, do you really want to do this?" Like, I mean, he was one of the teachers at the school. We were like, "You've heard our band, right? Like, you know what kind of music we play?" No, no, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. And we were like, "Okay."
Yeah, tell me a little bit about your musical history with bands and stuff.
Man, I played in a few bands around here. I played in a band called Death Blow, probably mid 2000s. We were kind of like Hate Breedish, and then did another metal band called Tyrannus, which I'm not like a metal guy, so anytime I get asked to play for a metal band, I'm just like, why? Okay, whatever. But then yeah, then we did some other stuff, and now I'm currently playing with a project out of New York. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man, because it's like, you were talking about the whole like scene, like all the members like mishmashing and stuff, and then you find out like, oh, this guy was in this band with this guy, and oh, and it kind of like shuffles. It's like musical chairs of the hardcore scene, no?
Yeah, no, totally. And there's a real funny one with that too. Like, there was, in ninth grade. Well, yeah, ninth grade was kind of like one of those years that a lot changed for me. Ninth grade is when I started going to the public school, rather than this little, Christian school that my parents had sent me to. Because that only goes up through eighth grade. So I was forced into going to public school. And so, yeah, in ninth grade, I was into, rock and metal and stuff, and ran into this kid, Tony, who, introduced me to, a lot of heavier stuff. I mean, he was huge metal head. And, so he like had this Sepultura, Dead Embryonic Cells promo tape where it was like just like 3 songs or so. So like, Tony introduced me into, a bunch of heavier stuff. I mean, I was into, Anthrax, Metallica, Slayer, and yeah, I guess I was into some heavy stuff already, but like, Tony was like, more, more into metal than me and stuff. And he introduced me to some different stuff. And we played in a band together in ninth grade, and we were just doing covers and stuff. We actually have a video of us playing the backyard of our drummer's house, playing a cover of For Whom the Bell Tolls, where we're headbanging outside and stuff, and there's all these like kids from the neighborhood running around and stuff. And I don't know, it's a big crazy video. But the funny thing is, Tony, like him and I, we had this band together back in ninth grade, and then I think after 10th grade or so, we just kind of went separate ways and stuff. And I didn't keep in touch with him and stuff. And then years later, he was playing guitar in Disembodied. So so like it was kind of funny that here this person that had an influence on me and music and stuff from back in ninth grade ended up years later himself finding himself in the hardcore scene. So it's
It's
kind of.
weird how that works. Now with Harvest, talk a little bit about the formation of that. And you had mentioned that you had a like a religious upbringing. Did any of the other guys in the project have that? Because the first album is called Living with a God Complex, which I would assume, at least in your scenario, would be a little bit reactionary to a religious upbringing, or what was kind of the inspiration for the band?
Yeah, well, the band started actually before me. The band started with Dave, the singer, and Eric, the other guitarist. The two of them, kind of got together and stuff, and then they ended up getting together with Adam and Aaron, the original bass player and drummer. So they were a four-piece for a while, and they put out the first 7-inch with that formation, just the four of them. And the first 7-inch, Worn Through the Layers of Separation, I think is the name. The first 7-inch, is totally different style musically than the rest of the stuff. I think Harvest has kind of gone through a bunch of changes. It's kind of in part why we had a compilation album called Transitions, because the band really has gone through a lot of changes. But so yeah, the band started as that four-piece, and then for a little while they had another second guitarist, which was Jamie Wolford, who went on afterwards to play in Animal Chin, The Stereo, a bunch of other bands, on Fueled by Ramen and stuff like that. The Stereo is a great band if you like poppy rock stuff. But he was just, Jamie was in the band for a little while, and then after that, he left, and then that's when they were looking for another guitarist, and I kind of tried out, went to a practice, and we just started working on a song, Auburn, which was one of the songs on the second 7-inch, and things just kind of went from there. So it's yeah, it's funny because like I'm not I wasn't in the original formation, I guess you could say, but the other guys have often said that they kind of see it as things started once I was in the band. I don't know, we changed things musically. That actually got some kickback initially. I've had someone tell me that they preferred back in the day, back in like 96 or 97 or so, that someone told me they preferred the older stuff. And sometimes I joke around saying that I ruined a perfectly good emo band, because like the first 7-inch was more melodic and still screamy, but a really unique, because Eric is a great guitarist, great songwriter, but he had a different style. He was kind of a jazz guitarist. He was going to go to school, I think, out at Berkeley or somewhere. But yeah, so we had kind of different styles, and I was much more metal and stuff, and so I don't know, maybe I corrupted them a little bit, but at the same time they were kind of moving that direction. So
I haven't heard that 7-inch. I've heard all the other stuff, like the stuff that made it onto Transitions, but I haven't heard that. I wonder if is it floating on the internet anywhere?
well, it's on the Transitions. Yeah, the Transitions is
Oh, is it?
yeah, it's Transitions is the first two 7-inches. Well, yeah, I guess all the 90s 7-inches. So Worn Through the Layers of Separation, Incision, which came out in 96. Although Worn Through the Layers, I think, also came out officially in 96. I think it was recorded in 95, and then like I think it only came out like January or February of 96. I could be wrong with that. And then it also, so Transitions had those those first two 7-inches plus what we recorded, the new 7-inch in 98, which had Epicure and all those the other four songs, which was released as a 7-inch itself, One Step Closer Than the Last. And then it also had another 3 songs that appeared on different compilations and stuff. So it was kind of like a mix of everything that wasn't on Living with a God Complex, basically.
Awesome.
So
And what was like the response to you guys? Like, did you guys do a lot of United States touring? Did you ever get to go to Europe?
yeah, we were supposed to go to Europe. We did a bunch of the U.S., mostly East Coast tours. We went out to the East Coast a bunch of times. We did do one full U.S. tour in '97 with Endeavor, and with that we went out to the West Coast. But yeah, for the most part, East Coast and playing the Midwest and Canada. We wanted to go to Europe, and at one point things were kind of lined up back in the 90s. Things were kind of lined up for us to go to Europe, and then uh, I. I'm not sure the details exactly, but I believe that the people who were going to help us go over there was working with another band where things kind of went south or something, and so the whole
Oh,
plan basically got canceled. Um, and then Harvest split in '99, and then we reformed in 2011 and have been doing stuff since then. We still haven't gone to Europe yet, although that's something that is high on my list, and I think for most of us, we all want to do Europe. We did a Japanese tour in 2019,
oh wow.
which was a fun little trip.
Where did you
Um,
play in Japan? Do you remember?
yeah, well, we played. It was actually ended up just being two shows in Tokyo and one in Osaka. So
Oh, okay.
uh, we were there for like a week or so,
Oh wow.
and because with us, we're kind of scattered all across the world now. I'm down here in Sao Paulo. John, our bassist, is in Madrid. The rest of the guys are in Minnesota now, so at least we have them all
Somewhat
together.
concentrated.
Yeah, but for a while there, Dave, our singer, was in Canada. I think he was in Toronto. Um, we've had in the past we had a drummer from Chicago, so we were kind of all over the place. So when we would play, we'd have to get together for some time and practice and stuff. So
You had that guy from Protestant, right?
uh, uh, Remus
Yeah, I
from
think he was playing drums for you guys for a minute, right?
Yeah, Remus, he's played in a billion bands. I don't know if the Killer is still going on, um, but yeah, Remus, he's played in a ton of Chicago bands. All the way going back to I have videos of his old bands, back in the '90s that I filmed and stuff when he was a
Wow.
little
What
kid,
was the
basically.
reason for the initial split with Harvest?
Well, it was basically, Dave, our singer, he had, a girlfriend who lived out on the East Coast, and he was, planning to move out with her. And so, basically, he got us together for a band meeting and said that he was going to, be moving out to the East Coast and stuff. And I told the rest of the guys that I still want to, play with whoever else is up for it. And, Jonas and Adam, said that, they were in. Eric, our other guitarist, he hung it up basically. The last the last Harvest show is actually the last time he's played guitar. So,
The one in '99 was the last time.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So he basically, like, he has a company. He creates fonts. Like he does design work and stuff for fonts.
Oh cool.
Very specific niche uh, type of work. But yeah,
Tell him to stop because there's too many. I can't choose from.
exactly. I think we have enough. He does some good ones. So yeah, I think you'd like him. But
That's pretty awesome. But
but
so
yeah.
then you guys split, and then you said you made a transition to Boston, which when I heard that the members of Harvest were starting a new project called the Hope Conspiracy, I was like, oh, that's crazy. And then it mentioned you were out of Boston, and I was like, so some of those guys would have had to have like relocated to Boston. What was the move, or what was the reason for your relocation? Was it for the band, or you just needed a new environment?
Yeah, and that's a funny thing. Like, it's funny to me, thinking of the Hope Conspiracy as a Boston hardcore band. I mean, because that's what we're considered. Because we're- you know, that's where the band has been. But yeah, I mean, like, it was Jonas, Adam, and I from Harvest in Minneapolis, and actually, there was one time, because back in the '90s when I was living in Minneapolis, I used to go to Chicago all the time. A bunch of my friends and I. because there's so many shows that'll go through Chicago but won't go up to Minneapolis, and so we would always drive down there, and so I became friends with Neeraj, just from always being down in Chicago, and yeah, we were talking about moving out to Boston. The Boston thing, it actually came up from Matt Pike, not the musician, but the booking agent,
Yeah.
and so Matt Pike, he when Harvest went through on tour, he lived out in Springfield, Mass. And for some reason, I just loved, kind of like fell in love with the town when we were there and stuff. And so when when Harvest ended, and Jonas and Adam and I decided to keep moving forward with the band, and just keep on writing and doing stuff, we discussed going out to the East Coast, because in the Midwest, you play in Minneapolis and then you drive 7 hours for Chicago, and there's not a whole lot that's close by you. So it's if you really want to get out there, it's tougher. So we wanted to move to the East Coast, where you can drive an hour or two, and in a few hours and you're in a whole nother scene. So we initially were planning on moving out to Springfield, and then I don't know. I think when we were talking with Matt and stuff, he's like, "Why don't you guys just move to Boston?" And I was like, "Okay." So we ended up moving to Boston, but initially we were thinking about Springfield, which is kind of a bizarre thing. But yeah, so we were talking about moving out to Boston, and so I went to Chicago for some show, and Neeraj was there, and I kind of like jokingly said to him, I was like, "Neeraj, do you want to move out to Boston with us and do a band?" He's like, "Yeah, okay." and like I said it kind of jokingly, not like I love Neeraj and wanted him to do it, but like I didn't expect him to actually say yes. But yeah, so like kind of threw that out there, and thankfully Neeraj said yes, and same thing. We I believe we got to know Kevin through through Matt Pike and the rest of the Death Wish guys, Trey and Jake and everything. So Adam actually talked to him on the phone before we went out there and stuff, and so it was yeah, we just kind of moved out there. So then we ended up renting a giant U-Haul and taking the three of us, Jonas, Adam, and I, from Minneapolis, actually, plus another friend of ours. There was this girl in Minneapolis that we were friends with, that she also moved out to Boston at the same time, into a different house with other people. But yeah, so we had the four of us in this U-Haul, and then drove to Chicago and picked up Neeraj and all of his stuff, and then drove out to Boston. And so we had apartment, which was the four of us, me, Adam, Jonas, Neeraj, and then actually Chris Chassis, who played in a bunch of bands too, out in Boston. Well, now I think he's out in Washington now and stuff, but yeah, so we end up just all moving out there, and had our first practice up in my bedroom on the 3rd floor of our apartment building.
5 people in one apartment?
Yeah. So
Ooh.
it was like a house that was, we had the 2nd and 3rd floor, and then the 1st floor was another couple that we didn't really interact with too much, but yeah, it's
Wow, and that takes a lot of like, a lot of courage, to kind of like the four of you guys all uproot and then just go out there. I mean, did you have like the plan was just to start a band, or you wanted to? Did you guys have jobs when you went there or anything, or you just flying blind?
I mean, everything was, basically temp agencies. I think most of us belong to temp agencies. or we joined temp agencies and they would find us jobs. Um, I actually, I actually, I started out at this temp agency, and I think the second job they put me on became like a permanent job, which is kind of a funny thing. It was like a translations company um, that that was in what was it, in Cambridge there. But basically, it was like, and I was the administrative assistant. I went in as a temp thing to be there for like 2 weeks, and then my boss really liked me, and like gave me like a salary far better than anything I had had up to that point, at least. And so like I kind of fell into you know like a decent job, even though our focus was the band. And that's actually it's after a year or so, there was a point where I didn't want to lose that job, and so like there were 2 tours that I didn't go on while I was in the band, just because like we were touring all the time. The Hope Conspiracy, um, in the first year that we were a band, we played 100 shows, and I think only 6 of those were in Boston. So it was like every weekend, it'd be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Indianapolis, Philadelphia, Portland, and like we would just be, all over the place. And also another thing, I guess related is, I met my wife at that job, and so we didn't start dating initially, but well, it's kind of a funny thing because like we worked together and stuff, and then after a few months, like I would bike to work, and she would drive to work, and then after a few months, it started getting to be winter time, and somehow we found out that we actually lived a block away from each other.
Oh,
So
wow.
so we started carpooling to work and back every day, and just got to know each other that way, and become friends and stuff, and but yeah, and then eventually ended up getting married and stuff. But
Stars aligned, man.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome. That's so
yeah,
good.
it's,
Now, and so Hope Conspiracy had a run. Were you on? I know you probably did that first EP that they were on, but did you appear on any of the full lengths after that?
yeah. The first full length, that one. I was in the band up until the end of 2001, or October of 2001. The last tour that I did with them was with Over My Dead Body, Death Threat, Carry On, um,
Wow.
and and then after that we split. Yeah, I was the first one to get married. My wife and I, got married really quick. We got married, basically 10 months after we started dating. And let's see here. In I think April or so of 2001, we it was kind of a funny thing because like I had that job that I enjoyed doing. My wife had already left the job and moved on, and she was doing something else, uh, and she was doing another job in kind of like software and stuff. And so the two of us, had jobs that we liked and stuff, and then we got asked to tour with Sick of It All, to share a bus with them. So it'd be, and we ended up, touring. It was Sick of It All, Boy Sets Fire, Death by Stereo, and The Hope Conspiracy. And so, with that tour, I was like, oh, I guess now's the time to quit my job. So, so like I quit my job so that we could go on that tour and stuff. And while we were on that tour, we had, a bunch of shows out in California, because like around LA, you play, Pomona, Corona,
Pasadena, yeah.
the whiskey we played, so my wife ended up flying out to California, for a few days to like go and catch a bunch of these shows that we went on out there. And then when we got back from tour, we actually immediately went on our honeymoon. And then when we got back, she actually lost her job as well. So suddenly both of us were without a job and stuff. And, she's Brazilian and had been living in Boston for almost 10 years or so. And we, had this kind of, had kind of been kind of fallen in love a little bit with LA and stuff, with California. And so, we decided to move out to California. And so that's while I was, still in the band. And, so in July of 2001, we moved out to California. And then like 2 days later, I, flew back to Boston to go on tour with the Hope Conspiracy. So I'd be like flying back and forth, all the time from July until October. And then, in October, after I got back, Jonas called me up and he's like, I don't think it's working with you out in California. So I was like, well, I'm already out here, so I guess that's it.
Wow.
But yeah, I was on, the first, the demo, the first full length, the file 03 and stuff, when, right when I was, right before I was out of the band, Aaron Lisi from Adamantium had recently joined the band. And so we had started working on, writing stuff for EndNote. But, it was like, very initial stages. So yeah, there's stuff on EndNote that like I hear and think sounds familiar, but I don't remember if like we worked on it together or not. So
Or it could be one of those things where the band was like, "Oh yeah, we like that riff. We'll just keep that."
yeah, but
And now with HopeCon, like, it's good to see that they're still making music. Actually, I guess they just put out
absolutely.
something here recently. But so did you play in anything like after that? And why the reason for the Harvest reunion? What kind of brought that about?
Well, when I was out living in Los Angeles, I played around a little bit. One of my big regrets actually was Todd Jones. Back then it was kind of like the beginning days of Terror, and I've always loved Scott Vogel. There's a special place in my heart for him and all of his bands because the first tour that Harvest ever did was in '96 with Despair and Brothers Keeper, and love those guys from both those bands. And and like so Todd had asked me to join them in Terror, but like I was I don't know, I was bitter, I guess you could say, from like the split with the Hope Conspiracy, and my gear I think was still back in Boston and stuff, and so I think I said that I just like didn't want to do anything. I did play for a little while with a friend of mine, Jason from To Die For Clothing. He does this clothing brand out in
Yeah, I
California,
remember them.
and he's done a bunch of bands as well. But yeah, so Jason Welsher and I, we did a band for a while, and it was more, I don't know. I mean, I guess kind of almost post-hardcore, kind of different stuff. It's funny. I've always, kind of wanted to try doing something different than the style that I usually do. I've had a number of times where I've like started a band where it's like, okay, let's do something totally different. And, we even have a band, Dave and I from Harvest, actually with John, the bass player as well. We have a band or a project, that is kind of initial or was titled City of God, which was basically we started, I think in 2008 or so, a number of years ago, we started and we're like, okay, let's, do something totally different where, there's no boundaries and stuff. And then we, get to writing and it ends up being just like one step away from everything else we do. So it's tough to totally, uh, make a change like that. But yeah, in Los Angeles, I played for a little while, but I was only in LA for a year and a half before moving to Brazil.
Where did you live in LA?
I lived kind of in West LA. I was right off of Santa Monica Boulevard, just west of the 405.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so I was,
Okay.
really, really close to the 405 there, just like a few blocks, um, which was good because like I went to school for audio engineering when I was out in LA. Decided to focus more on actually making audio engineering a
Did you go to
career.
Musicians Institute?
No, I went to the oh man, what's the name? The recording. Oh, what is it? Los Angeles. Back in the day, it was called the Los Angeles Recording Workshop, and then they changed it to. I think they changed a word or so rather than workshop, which
Did you
seems
like
very.
LA?
What's that?
Did you like LA?
I liked LA. It was a little tricky because like I've told my wife a number of times that it'd be nice to go back to LA actually having money because we were super poor out there. Like, we moved out there. Both of us had just lost our jobs. I started working some temp job, and then I started going to school. After a while, she worked a number of jobs and uh, never really found anything that she really connected with, and that's in part why we ended up moving away after a year and a half. She did have a funny job offer that I don't know why she turned it down, but looking back, but she got I don't even know how like she came across this, but she was talking with the assistant of Jerry Bruckheimer to replace her, his former assistant, because she had to leave. I don't know if she was pregnant or something, but yeah. And it's funny because like my wife loves all the CSI and Criminal Minds and all that stuff, so it would have
Yeah,
been
yeah.
kind of a perfect fit, I think. But yeah,
Why didn't she take it?
I don't know. I'm not sure if it was. I don't know. My wife is very. I think very kind of like business. I mean, she's a businesswoman. She's.
Sure.
And so I think that I don't know. I think maybe it was because it's like a very kind of like you always have to be ready to be on call, and like you never know when you're going to get a call, and you may have to travel to go to
Yeah.
whatever. So
Your
it's
life, your life is basically their life,
yeah, yeah,
essentially. Yeah.
exactly. So I think it was kind of that. But yeah, I loved LA. I loved the warm weather and stuff, and it was nice for me. I mean, I'm vegan. I've been vegan for a long time, and so like it was, LA definitely has a bunch of good vegan food.
Oh, so many good restaurants.
So that was a plus. So that
Did you
was
ever
a,
go to Doomie's? Doomie's.
I don't know if I've actually ever been.
It may have not have existed when you were there, but it was like a vegan like burger and like just junk food joint. So
Uh,
good.
yeah. Yeah, I was a big fan of Real Food Daily.
Oh yeah,
That's
real food. Yeah.
not everyone's favorite because it's so health oriented, and
Yeah.
it's not tasty junk food.
Oh, it was pretty
Yeah, there's
damn
a
good.
there's a bunch of good stuff out there, but
Yeah, yeah. That was the biggest thing about being in LA for me. I was out there for 6 years, and it's just like you're so spoiled. Like especially if you're a single person, like you can't be bored in that city like ever. Like there was just so much to do, and like, but I can understand what you're talking about. The cost of living is astronomical, and it's just like I don't even know why anybody still lives there. Truthfully, it's
Yeah.
like you're saying, it's like you're just you know destitute, and it's kind of hard to enjoy LA. Like anybody that talks about it in a positive light is usually living pretty comfortably.
Yeah. 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 It's funny because like, I mean, we just had a little apartment, which is actually a funny thing because we chose an apartment. I don't even know how we did it. I think we talked to friends and stuff. We had never seen it before we got there, and we packed up all our stuff and drove from Boston to Los Angeles, and we pull up to the apartment, and before even opening the door, my wife like completely decides she did not like the place, and she was like crying. She's like, I don't want to stay here. And I was like, let's at least go in and check it out. And but yeah, so we ended up staying there and stuff, and at least for the year and a half we were there. But yeah, I mean, it was great for us. I mean, the apartment was nothing special, but it had a pool. I could do my weird yoga floating at the bottom of the pool and stuff. It's California. I think there's a lot of my Minnesota friends who have always been drawn to California. I have this old friend Sean, where it was like, Cali was the only thing he would ever talk about. Like he had this, dream of going out there and stuff. And I think a lot of Minnesotans, just because it's like at some point you get tired of the cold, and then LA just seems good. But yeah, I
Yeah,
enjoyed
I
it
mean,
while we were.
I know Tara and Joel from Disembodied went out there because I saw them when I was out there, and yeah, I mean they were just like, yeah, fuck Minneapolis, it's too
Yeah,
cold.
yeah, exactly. I was talking with Tara a little while back, and I was like, asking if she ever goes back to Minnesota, if her and Joel ever go back there and stuff. And like, it'd be good to meet up. And she's like, I don't think Joel will go back there. So yeah, like they seem pretty set on
They're
California.
spoiled now. Which
Yeah.
I heard she was had some health problems a while back. Is she doing better?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't chatted with her much, to really know the details of that as well. I saw that. I hope all is well. It seems like she's doing better.
Good.
But yeah, I haven't spoken with her on that stuff. Hopefully, all is well.
Yeah, hopefully. And we were talking about beforehand. We had a mutual friend in Adam Schulte who has actually been on this show before. Yeah, we're longtime friends. You asked me if I knew him, and then I had mentioned to you that we drove up to see the reunion from North Carolina, which was that was an adventure, let me tell you. But what was kind of the catalyst for the reunion? You guys were just like you wanted to reconnect again, and you guys did a new EP after that, and what kind of brought that about?
Yeah, that's a good question. Uh, Actually, that came about because of in 2009 in Chicago there was the Burning Fight. Uh, I don't know if they called it the Burning Fight Fest, but there was
Book
a
release, yeah.
there was a book release, and so they had that whole weekend of shows and stuff, and I went down with some friends. uh, Actually got the swine flu going down, and was terribly, terribly ill that weekend. Uh,
Jeez.
that's the only time I think that I've ever like passed out where I fainted was going back home after that weekend. Went to my friends and we stopped at a gas station, and like went into the bathroom, and I was all lightheaded, so I was like leaning up against the wall, and then after a while I was like, okay, I think I'm fine, and like get out of the bathroom and start walking towards the cash register, and my friend Nicole was there, and I just collapsed and stuff. Um, so yeah, but during that show, um, you know, friends of mine, Caitlin Lipinski and Jim Grimes, were the ones that booked that. And Jim Grimes is an old friend from Chicago. Caitlin is from Minneapolis. And so, yeah, they, after that show mentioned how, there are a bunch of bands that they wish they could have gotten to do that, and that Harvest, is one of those bands and stuff. And, kind of, got us talking about it. And then, Dave and I started talking and stuff. So it was kind of through that, we got things moving forward. And yeah, so then, and it's like, I've always, music is my passion. It's my life. It's, aside from family, it's the thing that, I'm most drawn to. And, it's kind of weird because I've been living in Brazil for over 20 years now. And so, I've kind of become a hermit down here and haven't been very active back there. But like, once Dave and I started talking, we decided to do it, and yeah, just started moving forward with it.
Yeah, I was really stoked when you guys came back because I would, that was kind of when I first was introduced, was like, late 90s. And, I didn't get to see all these bands that were across the country or touring bands or anything like that. So it was a real treat to get to see you guys again. And I think that was Disembodied's last show too. Like
Yeah.
they reunited and then they were like, This is it for us." And you know, what's your most interesting tour story? What was your, like, something wild that happened to you on the road, either in Harvest, Hope Conspiracy, either band?
Well, the first one that comes to mind, there's so many good ones, and that's part of one of the reasons why we get back together. Like, I love going on tour. I love hanging out with friends. And for me, it's like, as long as you have a group that's friends, and you all get along well, it's better than any vacation.
Sure.
And so, like, yeah, I love going on tour. The first thing that comes to mind is probably the first Hope Conspiracy tour, where it was with Converge and a full US tour. And I just remember waking up in the middle of night in Las Vegas with the side of my face just swollen up. And I, had my wisdom teeth had gotten infected. And so I had to get my wisdom teeth removed. And I was like, I'll just do it after the tour. We'll finish the tour. And, back then I was, hardcore vegan straight edge. I mean, I'm still vegan, but like, I back then wouldn't take aspirin. I wouldn't, do anything. So I didn't take any pain medication or anything.
Oh wow.
And I was just in absolute misery, like 23 and a half hours of the day. And like
Yeah.
that half hour that we were on the stage, like, the adrenaline's going and I feel fine and it's like all good to go. But every other minute off that stage for the rest of that tour was pretty
Must have
miserable.
hurt.
So, like, yeah, like, the rest of the time I basically had to sleep with my, sleep up against the wall so that I wasn't laying down because the pressure would be too much and stuff. And, to make it worse, towards the tail end of that tour, I think in Iowa, my van broke down. I bought a van for the Hope Conspiracy to tour in, like a 15-passenger Dodge van,
Wow.
which unfortunately was a lemon. It blew out the transmission at least 2 times.
That.
And so, like, we blew out the transmission, I think in Iowa, when we were kind of on our way back. And like I was, dying with my face all swollen and stuff. And, so, I asked to see if I could catch a ride with the Converge guys back to Boston so that I could get back home and go to a dentist and have my teeth pulled and everything. And Jake's like, sure, you can come with us if I get your teeth. So like after I had my teeth pulled, I ended up giving them to Jake. So I know Jake has a collection of a number of weird artifacts, and my teeth are some of them. So
That's weird. That
yeah.
is pretty weird. That is wild. And let's talk a little bit about your documentarian trajectory. You've been archiving a lot of the old shows from from Harvest and a bunch of the old bands of that era. Um, and when I reached out to you, I noticed it said producer and documentarian and whatnot. And so how did you kind of get onto that trajectory? And I know you mentioned you had the audio engineering experience and whatnot, but how did you come about wanting to show all this stuff? And do you have any plans as a documentary filmmaker? Like, do you want to work on future projects?
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that, I, uh, you know, calling myself a documentarian is maybe a little ambitious, because like I've worked on actually a ton of documentaries down here in Brazil, on the audio side of things, everything generally doing, I've done a bunch of work down here. I mean, the whole time I've been in Brazil, I've been working, doing audio engineering for post production, or generally most of it's for post production, a little bit of music stuff as well, but you know, also working on television and film and stuff like that. But yeah, uh, you know, it kind of started just because, like, back in the 90s, I, got a video camera and just, was obsessive about filming as much as I could, and, there's so much stuff that I've posted, tons of stuff, because like I like to get this stuff out there, there's still tons of stuff that I haven't released, because I started the YouTube channel and the Instagram profile and all this stuff 25 after, with the idea of posting things exactly 25 years after they happened. Uh, and then, I, sometimes fall off track, and then I post things, whatever. But I try to post on the anniversary dates. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff that I still haven't been able to post. Like I filmed the whole Cleveland Hardcore Fest in '96, where I think I recorded basically everything but like 5 minutes of one of the 33 bands there. Like I recorded every song of every band basically.
Oh, wow.
Um, so yeah, I was just really obsessive about capturing things, and uh, and I've wanted to take this old footage that I have and really turn it into a documentary, because it's there's I think there's so many different scenes in hardcore, and like every place is different. I absolutely loved the Minnesota scene, the Minneapolis scene, when I was growing up. Yeah, it was, just a very cool place that was like, uh, open to everyone, and very, like it was a small scene. So like everyone would go to every show, and there was,
Yeah.
sometimes some crazy bills. Like there was a show, I think in 95, maybe it was 96, that was, um, Disembodied, The Promise Ring, and Dillinger 4, which Dillinger 4, I don't know if you don't know, they're like,
Had that club up there. Yeah.
yeah, amazing pop punk band from Minneapolis. But yeah, so you have like this, emo band, and, the heaviest band ever, Disembodied. And so it's like, you have some kind of weird mixes, but like everyone would go to every shows, and it was just such a great place. And so like I've had for a long time this idea of putting together a documentary and showing the scene that I was fortunate enough to grow up in. And I've kind of gotten started with this. I've filmed interviews with a number, with like 5 different people already. So I've filmed with Dave and Eric from Harvest. Uh, Filmed with my old friend Sean Lipinski, who passed away, who was in Sunset with Dave now. Dave's current other band and stuff. But yeah, so I filmed with these interviews with a bunch of people, and I've kind of been gathering this footage, and it's basically me talking with my friends about what we grew up with, and my idea is to take that and kind of start to whittle things down and start to put together you know a real documentary, and hopefully now in October when I'm back in the States, I'll be able to do some more of that and film some more interviews. So hopefully we'll I'll get this off the ground. The problem is I don't know, like I think a lot of times if I have too many things to focus on, things get put on the back burner, and so it's like this documentary is one of those things that like I've wanted to do it for a long time, and just haven't made that the priority yet.
Sure.
So
Yeah, it's tough,
hopefully,
especially when you've got multiple like creative endeavors, you sometimes it's just like, oh, I want to work on this, I want to work on this, I want to, and then it's like you don't actually make a decision and you're just like, you know, stationary and you don't do anything. So it's good that you're attacking this 100%. That's great. Um
yeah,
and as far as like, content, since have a aspiration to do documentaries and stuff, what are you watching right now? As far as, are you a movie guy, are you a TV guy? What do you got for me, even in specifically the realm of documentaries, because I love documentaries.
yeah, yeah. That's a tricky one. I really should have something in mind. I think if my brain wasn't in such a fog, I would have something.
Oh, I
I
hear
wish
you.
I wish I had a good vegan documentary that I could plug. Although I don't know, I haven't been. Uh, I don't know. I guess Earthlings is a good one, but
Yeah,
uh,
Earthlings. Isn't Blackfish a vegan documentary?
yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of more focused on, I think, the cruelty of SeaWorld and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
right.
uh, but yeah, I mean, let's see here. I don't know. I mean, I've lately it's like I've just been watching a lot of Netflix and stuff. I mean, one of the things now, I mean, I have 2 daughters who are 12 and 17. And my oldest daughter, Samantha, she has Down syndrome, and she's huge into music and stuff. So like, I mean, she loves the Beatles, she loves Queen, she loves the Ramones, loves all sorts of stuff. But so we've been actually going through and watching the Get Back documentary on Disney
Oh, nice.
Plus, which I love stuff like that. I mean, I love studio stuff. I love seeing, you know, I love the behind the scenes stuff.
Behind the scenes,
Um,
yeah.
so, stuff like that for me is, I don't know. There's, you know, kind of like any music documentary I'm into. I love, stuff like that. So, but yeah, I
Nice.
can't think of
Yeah.
any real good one. Uh, I don't have any great examples,
I got a
unfortunately.
few for you actually. I just watched a few months ago the Krishna's documentary on Peacock. Have you seen
Okay.
that one?
No, I
Yeah, that
haven't
one's
seen.
pretty good. I
I
I
don't
see.
have.
I love cult documentaries. I love things about like, I watched a Jim Jones documentary here recently that was really good. There was this one, it was like the cult of Mother God. It was this
Mm.
woman and she was like, God, I don't even know. She had some sort of like personality disorder. She had to or something, but like she thought she was like communicating with like Robin Williams, um, all these people that were like, famous celebrities like Frank
Wow.
Sinatra. She thought she was communicating with Donald Trump. She was like out there. And like she had all these like little followers and stuff, but she ended up taking, well, I don't want to give it away. It's crazy, but it was really good. That one was good. Sports docs are pretty good. Have you seen Grizzly Man?
I think I did, about the guy who, just wanted to be with the Bears, and unfortunately, uh,
Yeah, that that
Huntley
was
wanted to
that was a
play.
wild one. It's an older one, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's great
yeah.
stuff.
You mentioned Robin Williams. I love there's a documentary on him. I don't remember the name now. I don't know if you've seen that. What is the name? I saw it because there's, down here in Brazil, my father-in-law has an apartment at the beach that we go to sometimes, and they have like on the TV. I don't know if it's common up there in the States, but on the TV down here, like our TV box, you can record some of the things off of the cable TV, And so
Sure.
like whenever I go there, I'll see if there's anything good. And so this Robin Williams documentary that I filmed, or that I recorded,
Recorded.
and watched there. I thought was fantastic. Really, really, really beautiful one. I mean, for people who are into comedy and actors and everything, it's a really, really good one. So if
I'll
you
have to
haven't
check
seen
that
that,
out. That's awesome. And you know, you mentioned that Harvest had some upcoming material coming soon.
yeah, we're working on new material. I'm super excited on that. We're hoping in October to record a new 7 inch. Uh, uh, the plan is to record a new 7 inch in October, so that we have that ready, so that next year we can tour Europe. Uh, that's the plan. We're working on things now, and it's interesting now because for many years, you know, Harvest, I mean, since I guess, we got back together in 2011, I've been kind of the primary songwriter. And I would basically, especially since, I work as an audio engineer, I would, program the virtual drums and then record all guitars, bass. So I would basically send up songs, that are a complete idea, the full instrumental track. And, but now we have, this latest formation of Harvest is with Dan, the drummer, and Chris, well, who plays bass, but in Harvest he's playing guitar. Dan and Chris are in the band Sunset with Dave. So it's cool to have the three of them in Minneapolis, and then it's just John, the bassist, in Madrid, and me down here. Uh,
Okay.
but it's cool to have those guys there, and they're all songwriters. They're all active with that, so they're sending ideas. Everyone's sending ideas and stuff. So it's cool to have a different um, a different situation where it's not just me kind of doing everything and sending it off. It's nice because I've realized after 21 years down here in Brazil that I do not work well by myself, and that's kind of what I've kind of been forced into, I guess.
Mhm.
I work well when there's a group of people and you have this dynamic where if one person stumbles, the other one picks it up, and so it's cool. Now we have a number of people sending ideas, and really excited to get in the studio in October and record some new stuff.
It's awesome, man. I'll be looking forward to it for sure. I mean, You guys crushed, man. I mean, I was so stoked to be able to see you guys, and I want to say I think you guys played another night too, and I think I caught you guys. I can't remember, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that
man, I'll definitely be stoked. You guys got to make your way down to North Carolina though, for sure, because I think that'll be great.
yeah, North Carolina, maybe. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, we love East Coast, you know. I'd love to do I don't know. I want to tour. Like I've told the guys that I would love to tour, you know, twice a year. And it's tricky now when kind of everyone has families and stuff. I mean, you know, kind of just about everyone has kids and stuff and is married, so it's tough for everyone to get away and take the time. But at the same time, I mean, for me myself, like I'm at a good point where, you know, my girls have grown up, where it's like, you know, I can have some freedom to take some time to myself and you know, go off and focus on music and stuff. So it's, but you know, it's tough for, you know, it's tough to get everyone in the band that can line things up and do it all at the same time. So
It's got
we'll
to be
see.
that like perfect storm.
Yeah.
Is there anyone you want to plug, like as far as musicians or individuals or other ventures that you've got?
Well, I mean, for music, you know, there's a definite one there, which is Sunset, which is Dave's other band. Uh, you know, with you know the Dan and Chris that are now with us in Harvest. Really, really great band. Not just because you know they're you know, my friends and stuff, but just really, really good stuff. I love their music. You know, I've always loved Dave's voice and stuff. So yeah, I you know love them. You know, Minneapolis is got some cool stuff. Minneapolis has always kind of been a cool scene. Um, let's see here trying to think of other in other sort of
I was going to
realms.
mention, I mean, they're older bands, but like, you know, some of Dave's projects that don't get mentioned very often are Season of Fire and Krakatoa. Like those
Yeah,
bands were awesome, and then they did like one release each, one or two releases, and then we just never heard from them again. So
yeah. That's Krakatoa has always been Krakatoa has always been the funny uh, um, connection and a reason for a mislabeling on a bunch of old Harvest flyers. There's a bunch of old Harvest flyers where people would say featuring members of Threadbare, which I would love if it were true, because that's another band to recommend. I absolutely love Threadbare. I don't know. You know, I think a lot of people aren't familiar with Threadbare. Threadbare was a band, you know, hardcore band from Minneapolis that was around in the early 90s, well, early to mid 90s. Can't remember if they split and officially in like 97 or so. They didn't really tour much, um, but you know, it had Dustin Perry on bass, who later went on to play in Snapcase. He played in Harvest for a while as well. And then, you know, Carl, who was in Threadbare, did Krakatoa with Dave. And so that's where the confusion
it's
came
the
by.
connection.
There's a
Oh,
bunch
okay.
of old flyers that, you know, that say Harvest, you know, featuring ex-members of Threadbare, which I always thought
Not
was funny.
true. Okay.
But yeah,
All right. I actually didn't
Threadbare,
know that, to be truthful. So, um, well, yeah, Sunset. I'll definitely have to check that out because I've been, pretty consistent with, Harvest projects like, HopeCon, Season of Fire and stuff. So yeah, definitely I will check that out and I'll post the links down here and everything too.
nice.
Any words of wisdom before we part, sir?
Let's see here. Well, I guess I could. I guess I could plug something,
Sure.
which
Well,
is
you got more?
yeah. Well, this in October. Actually, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not.
Oh, okay.
Let me think here. I think it's okay. I think it's fine. That uh, Trustkill is actually going to be releasing the Harvest Transitions album for the first time on vinyl. So
Nice.
so that's a fun little thing. They reworked the artwork and stuff, and um, actually, remastered the songs. Scott from Earth Crisis, actually, he does a bunch of engineering stuff, and he
Nice.
remastered the songs and everything. So that's going to be released for the first time on vinyl, which is cool, which is going to be a fun thing to have.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. Other than that, yeah, there's I have a I have my dog here. One of my dogs
Oh,
is hanging out. I don't know if you can see. They've been pretty patient here. They haven't barked or anything, but
that's good.
he's starting to get
Well,
my
that's
attention.
cool, man. Yeah, I think I'm really excited to see all your projects and future harvest stuff. So I think that's great. And I wanted to wish you, like I said, I appreciate you being here on Father's Day and feeling a little bit under the weather. So I thank you so much for that. And one thing that I like to do, as you can see on the banner there, everybody, there's a official merchandise. It's Hell's Heart Merch Co. Hellsheartco.bigcartel.com. Use the code 20 for 20% off your entire order. Everything that you order will be 20% off. I want to show you a few of the samples here because I like them. Let's see here. We got the Steve McQueen like bullet mock. We got the little black flag mock. I got the Psycho 2 mock. This is Scream Tatum glow in the dark, and that one is also a Scream Randy glow in the dark. And I am wearing the Mola Ram shirt from Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, black metal Mola Ram. There's only a few of those left, so you got to pick one up. It glows in the dark as well. And everybody, like, comment, share, subscribe, click on the bell for notifications, and we'll be sure to post all of Dan's links here in the comments section. And everybody, like I said, there's going to be some good upcoming shows, so stay tuned. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank again Dan Zimmerman for being here. You've been awesome, man. I appreciate you so much. Everybody, namaste, job bless, be good. Dan, hang out for a minute, and
Yeah,
we're gonna connect you with the T-shirt here. So everybody, thank you so much, Dan. Appreciate you, man.
thank you. It was a pleasure.